Welcome to AM Reviews. I'm Sal and I'm here with my friend Touly. Say hi, Touly.
Hey everyone.
And before we get into it, there's going to be spoilers up ahead, so you've been warned. And today we're going to be reviewing Deadpool 2. Let's see, what can we say about Deadpool 2? Touly, what did you think of the movie?
I liked the movie. It had a lot of Easter eggs, which, kept on getting thrown at you left and right. I enjoyed that aspect of it. In terms of the plot, nothing too out there. I mean, there were like a twist, like towards the end that kind of caught my eye. But other than that, I mean, nothing bad about the story, but it wasn't like really, spectacular either. But overall, I enjoyed the movie though.
Yeah, same with me. I mean, I'm going to say it's a good pace. Doesn't really slow down. Doesn't speed up too much. Simple, easy to follow plot line. Nothing special. No big reveals. But there are a lot of jokes and Easter eggs in the movie. Okay, so let's get started. Touly, do you want to start talking about the opening credit scene?
Sure, they used Celine Dion's song Ashes and did it to a parody of James Bond. So you saw like a bunch of silhouettes and Deadpool doing this.
Just doing his
rather
thing.
doing his thing, yeah.
Dances
with
and...
oh man, yeah, but I loved it. But I mean, this was only like one of the many songs that were used throughout the film that kind of made me feel really nostalgic.
Yes.
Because a lot of these were like tunes that I grew up with.
Yeah.
So other things like, Take On Me by Aha, there were like a couple renditions of this in the film actually. And then you have things like All Out of Love by Air Supply. You heard Thunderstruck by AC/DC when X-Force was preparing to jump out of the plane. And then one that kind of hit home was Only Time by Enya, because back in high school, my computer lab teacher, he used to play this song whenever classes would come into the lab, and he had this on all the time. So when I heard Only Time by Enya, it kind of, hit home. Yeah, I loved it. It definitely felt like there were a lot more songs being used in this film compared to the first Deadpool movie.
Yes.
But it definitely was something that I appreciated because it allowed me to enjoy a movie with, just songs that I just grew up with. And it just made the experience different in that nostalgic type of way.
Yes, I agree. And some of them were just placed in the most awkward scenes, like the Enya song. It was in a fight scene. So I was like,
yes,
wait,
right.
this doesn't fit. But okay, let's roll with it. And it was great. I mean, at the same time, the jokes that he said when they were playing music and everything, it was great. Oh, back to the opening credit scenes. Also, when it was like the credits, directed, written, and stuff like that. The things that were written. For example, in the credit scenes, under director, it said one of the guys who killed the dog in John Wick. And actually,
oh my god, yeah.
that is true, because the director in this movie also directed some scenes in John Wick. So people in the audience who read that, every time they read something, it was just like the weirdest comment they had. It was like they just started busting out. On top of that, the 007 parody, and then the Celine Dion song playing in the background. It was just over the top. So people had fun at the opening. And this is the opening credits, so it was amazing. And also, there was so many jokes, or shots, if you want to say, taken towards Hugh Jackman. One of them, I guess people would see or remember from the trailers. It was Deadpool was saying from the studio who killed Wolverine. Basically, it's the same studio, Sony. At the beginning, where he's laying on top of the tanks of gasoline, he says that Wolverine one-upping him all the time, that he died in the last movie, so he's also going to die in this movie. He's like, you're not going to get away from me. So he's trying to say, like, you died, I'm going to die too. They're always in a constant battle. And here's the thing, in the comics, they were partners. Wolverine and Deadpool have been partners since they were in Canada. Next thing, when this is flash forward to halfway through the movie, when they're making up the plan for the blueprints, which tell you the truth, like X-Force is sitting there and he's just writing on and drawing on, it's almost like a kid's painting with crayons, which is hilarious in itself. He's talking about how Russell, or Fire Fist, he designates him as prisoner 24601. And people who have seen Les Miserables and know that Hugh Jackman has been in the musical, they can remember Jean Valjean's prisoner number being the same number. It's probably just something they was like just put in there, and I'm sure it was between Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds, because they're always messing with each other. What else? Oh, there was reference to the Goonies movies. The first one was the shirt. Remember Juggernaut split Deadpool in half after the chase scene, and he's recovering at home? Well, the shirt that he's wearing is also the same one that was in the Goonies. Second thing, he's fighting with Cable on the caravan, and he tells him, "Give me your best shot, One-Eyed Willie." That's basically a reference to Goonies. Also, let's go back to when he was regenerating on the couch. He's growing the legs, and people show up and they start telling him, "Oh, you're just wearing a shirt." And he says that he's going full Winnie the Pooh. So there's a reference to Winnie the Pooh there. And when people get it, it's like Winnie the Pooh only wears the shirt and nothing below, no pants. Yeah, that's kind of the scene that was painted there.
Yeah, and they actually did they did the Basic Instinct thing there too, with him crossing his legs. And was it just me, or did you caught an eye? You caught something?
I caught something. I caught a glimpse. But who was it? TJ Miller, or Weasel, the guy from the bar. He's like, "Oh my God, you just did the Basic Instinct." And he's like, "Yep." And then I think Deadpool's doing it on purpose, and he's like winking. And Cable's there too, and he's just like, like grossed out.
Yeah.
Also, this is the beginning when Deadpool goes back to Al's place, the lady, and he's moving the couch. He pries the board up. There's drugs there, but there's one package that says cure for blindness. Well, back to Deadpool 1, when he's going on his final mission, he tells her there's a hidden stash of drugs, and next to it is the cure for blindness. I'll see you later. That's in Deadpool 1, and he's saying that because he's a jerk. Well, no. He's saying it because it's true, and we see it in Deadpool 2. He pops it up, grabs the package that he needs, and the cure of blindness is right next to it. So Deadpool, basically, I can say that he's a man of his word, but he's still like an asshole because he doesn't give it to her. But yeah.
Yeah. Did you notice the LeBron James?
Yes. With the powder?
Virtual gesture too? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, basketball fans, if you see it, you're going to like it. And I'm just going through these as fast as I can because there was also this one-liner that when he's going into the jail or the ice box, the sorting hat joke. He's like, "Is there a sorting hat or something?" and referencing Harry Potter. Also, during where he's falling off the cliff with Cable, like after the ice box fight scene, he references hitting rock bottom, and the references to the Human Centipede cast members when they signed up for the movie. The second is the Cool Runnings movie. So if people who remember those two movies, he mentions them briefly. He also asked Cable when he tells him that he's from the future, he asks him, "What Sharknado are we on?" TJ Miller, or Weasel, he references that he cried when they canceled Felicity. And that's another reference to, it was the 90s TV show, Felicities, just by mentioning that it basically references pop culture. And he also says, "Hands off the kid John Connor" to Cable, referencing Terminator. And then when he's outside the mansion talking to Colossus and he has the cell phone with the little boombox cover, that's a reference to Say Anything. And then Wade Wilson, or Deadpool, he also makes a comment that Deadpool 1 made more money overseas than The Passion of Christ. And actually, that's a true fact right there. So he also makes a reference to Beyonce by saying, "Please stop cheating on me." When he's dying at close to the end of the movie, he takes his Adventure Time watch and gives it to somebody. And he's like, this is a reference back from Deadpool 1. He has an Adventure Time watch. He calls Megasonic Teenager Warhead 11. So that's another shout out to Millie Brown from Stranger Things.
Oh, really? I didn't catch that. Yeah. Wow. Nice.
Yeah. Then he also calls her a lot of things. He calls her Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Also, Fire Fist calls her Justin Bieber, and a lot of people started laughing at that because I think Deadpool makes fun of her for looking like Justin Bieber in Deadpool 1. We forgot to mention the song Tomorrow from Annie that plays in the final fighting scene. Basically, at the beginning of the movie, what song does he say that Frozen is plagiarizing?
Oh, yes. Papa, can you hear me?
And to tell you the truth, when I came home, I was like, I need to listen to that song. So I went on YouTube, search for it. Guess what? When I'm looking at it, I'm hearing it, I start scrolling down to the comments. Literally, this video I was looking at was posted 11 years ago. Mm-hmm. There's 2 pages of fresh comments and saying, "Deadpool brought me here. Deadpool brought me here." Oh yeah, it does sound like Frozen. I'm like, oh my God, did people just get home the same time I did and did a search? I'm like, this is the power of movies. So yeah, I mean, what did you think? Is Papa, Can You Hear Me? Does it sound similar to Do You Want to Build a Snowman?
Yeah, it does. I can definitely hear the similarities.
Yeah?
Definitely.
No, I mean, I can hear them too, but I'm like, is it because he's pointing it out that our mind is kind of fixated on that? Or is it really sound like it? Because I mean, there's so many songs that you can say, oh, it sounds similar to other ones. So That's my thing. Is like,
Yeah, I don't want to get into the whole Yanni and Loro thing.
oh yeah, well, I mean, I explained it to one of my cousins already, so it just depends on your hearing. Because if you hear high pitch sounds, you'll hear one. If you hear low notes, you'll hear the other one. But yeah, okay. At the beginning, also when he's at the bar drinking because his girlfriend died, he says, "At least we have George Michaels and we have David Bowie," and they're like, George Michaels.
Oh, that was oh my god, that shot right there, though.
Yes, and then he's like, "At least we have Bowie." And they're like looking at each other like, yeah, at least we have Bowie. And I'm like, oh man, I'm like, this is really brings it home. I'm like, man, David Bowie's my boy. I'm like, it was like, I'm like, oh my god, you're taking the shot right now. Is it too soon? I'm like, I don't know. Oh, and during the interview scene when they're recruiting for X-Force, did you notice the Joker bang flag from the 1989 Batman movie?
Oh no, I didn't see that either.
I saw that, and somebody pointed it out as we were walking out. I heard somebody say, "Hey, was that the Joker's flag?" And I'm like, "Where did you see a Joker's flag?" And I was like, "Where did he see it? Where did he see it?" So I went online and I searched it, and somebody said, "Hey, it's behind them in the scene." So I was like, "Wait." Okay. So somebody on set had to be a fan of Batman, which is a DC character, and they're putting it in a Marvel movie. And it's actually the same flag they used in the movie scene. It goes to show you what you can do in movies.
Didn't he say that? He said, "I'm Batman."
Oh, yeah, right? Yes. Let's talk about references to DC. He makes references to both Marvel and the DC universe. Let's start off by going with Cable. He actually calls Cable Thanos, which we know Josh Brolin plays both characters, so he does call him Thanos. He's like easy Thanos or something like that in the movie. Also calls him a grumpy old fucker with a Winter Soldier's arm. So in that sense, he's referring to two characters from the Marvel universe, Thanos and Winter Soldier, which is Bucky. He also calls Domino Black Widow. And then what does he call the taxi driver?
The Brown Panther.
Brown Panther. There you go. So he's just going left and right, making references to Marvel. The line that he uses for Hawkeye.
Oh my god, this is the one that really got to me. So when he got his power stripped away, he was saying that, okay, without my powers, I'm just a man with cancer. Give me a bow and some arrows and I'm Hawkeye. I was like, serious? Serious, Deadpool?
Oh man, no! When I heard that, I was just laughing. It was hilarious. Also, when he's trying to take the helmet off Juggernaut, he says the line, "Sun's getting low, really low," and where's the reference to that? Is when Black Widow sings the lullaby to Hulk. So
that was in Age of Ultron,
Age of Ultron, yes. And also in Infinity War. Who says it? I think Thor or somebody says like the sun is getting low or something. He's like, nope, doesn't work on him. Oh, and then there's a reference to the DC EU, which is DC Extended Universe, at the beginning where he goes home to his girlfriend and says, "Hey, yeah, I'm late because I was rounding up all the gluten in the world and launching it into space." And she's like, "Nope." He's like, I was fighting an alien from another planet, but we both had our mother's same name, Martha. So referencing Batman versus Superman, and so. And then he tells Cable when they're fighting in the jail, he's like, "You're so dark. You sure you're not from the DC universe?" That's another, I don't know if you consider it a joke or a low blow to the DC universe.
Definitely a Green Lantern reference.
Oh, yes. There's, I think, should we talk about it now? The after credit scene where he goes back and then shoots Ryan Reynolds when he's reading the script for Green Lantern. And then he says, "You're welcome."
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
totally wasn't expecting that.
I wasn't expecting it, but I mean, like, I'm pretty sure he's tired of that role that he did, but I'm pretty sure the writers are the ones who are, writing it into the script. So he has no way out other than just saying, "Okay, I'll read it. I'll do it." A few more references when they arrive to the school where Fire Fist is in trouble and he's blowing up cars and stuff. Colossus says something and everybody turns to him and says, "You just stole that line from RoboCop." And I was like, when I saw that, I'm like, oh, he did. I'm a RoboCop fan from the original. I'm like, I think he says "Stop Citizen" or something. And I was like, oh my god, totally rip off right there. And they mentioned it. I'm like, well, so Deadpool can make jokes, but he can't. Also, when he's at the mansion, he's walking around the mansion, and I think he's talking to Colossus and telling him that where are the X-Men. Every time he's there, they're not around. And he turns around a corner and there's an open room, but he's facing the camera. The room's behind him, and we see the young X-Men in the background, which consists of basically Nightcrawler, Storm, Beast, Charles Xavier, and Quicksilver. And they're there, and Beast goes up and closes the door. But what's funny about this is that people pointed out that when they filmed Deadpool 2, they're also filming X-Men Dark Phoenix. So the thing goes like this: they're both filming it at the same time, basically in the same studio lot. Well, the other cast has nothing to do, so they came over to do a cameo on Deadpool 2. If people want to read more into this, saying like, oh my god, is Deadpool going to be in Dark Phoenix? I don't think so. I think it's just a little joke they were playing. Also, we saw that one of the members of X-Force was Vanisher. And he's the guy who technically he's there, but you can't see him because he's invisible. He jumps off the plane and somehow gets electrocuted by landing on some power lines. But once that happens, we see his face. And who is it, Touly?
It was Brad Pitt.
Yeah, Brad Pitt. Was it the top 3 seconds that we see his face? Well, funny story is that the A-list cameo for 3 seconds, and they called him up. And they asked him if he wanted to do a cameo for this scene. Reason was that one of the X-Force members was just going to get fried or something and then die. So they say, wait, once he dies, we see his body. So what if we put a face to it and have a celebrity? So they called Brad Pitt, who was also going to be Cable in the movie, but he lost it to Josh Brolin. So they called him up. He said, you know what? I have other things to do, but I think I could make some time. On top of that, my kids are fans of Deadpool. Sure, I'll do it. And he came in, he did it, and he also did it for nothing except for coffee. And there was a special thing that he said that he wanted Ryan Reynolds to go get his coffee. So I guess that was his payment. Make sure that Ryan Reynolds was the errand boy. So that was kind of fun. I mean, I didn't expect that to be in it.
Probably like a lot of people, I missed Matt Damon's cameo because he was pretty much disguised as one of the rednecks that was in the scene when Cable came from the future. So he took out 2 rednecks, and that's what he's listed as on like IMDb. So I had no idea that Matt Damon was actually in this film until I did some like random searching for like Deadpool 2 just to find out a little bit more about the film, and then saw like a headline or whatever mentioning Matt Damon in Deadpool 2. I was like, wait, really, huh? And so yeah, it led me to discover that he was actually one of the rednecks.
Yeah, I mean, that's I missed it completely. Also, I think is like you mentioned that he was had prosthetics, and I'm like, so I think that's why we missed it. Wow. Mm-hmm. When you told me, I was like, Matt Damon, I really don't remember Matt Damon, but I do remember Brad Pitt. But yeah. Okay, so I mean, another thing we're going to mention is that every time Deadpool is in the movie, he's breaking the fourth wall, so we expect him to keep breaking fourth walls and telling us stuff. One of the ones that caught my attention was when he was finding Cable, was the truck, when they were going down the street and Domino was driving. He does say, I hope the Academy is watching, and then he teabags Cable. I thought that was funny. Let's talk about another character that was in there. So in this movie, we see Colossus come back as a character. We see Negasonic teenager Warhead, and she is now with her girlfriend Yukio. And Yukio is a comedic character that we kind of just see Deadpool always saying hi Yukio, and she's saying hi Wade and stuff like that. But I have one basic link to her, and I think she's a real mutant in the comics, and her name is Surge. Her power is she absorbs electricity and then redirects it to an object, either an enemy or she just throws lightning bolts. But other people have said maybe it's not a mutant, that they're probably paying homage to some other character. And I said, okay, the only other character that I can think of that can be related to this is Yukio from the Wolverine. And in the Wolverine movie, we see Hugh Jackman travel to Japan, try to save Yukio. She's the daughter of a wealthy guy that Wolverine ends up saving during World War II. But I'm actually leaning towards Surge. So people out there, let me know if you think Yukio is Surge or she's Yukio from the Wolverine movie, or just paying homage to her. Now let's move on to the ending credit scenes. This is the post-credit scenes that we saw. We see Deadpool going back to Megasonic teenager Warhead and Yukio, and I guess they're fixing the little time-traveling device that Cable uses. And he time travels back in time. And then Touly, what does he do when he travels back in time?
If I can remember correctly, he did 3 things. He saved his girlfriend Vanessa.
Yes.
And then he also went back and killed the Deadpool that was in the
Wolverine Origins.
What's that? The Wolverine, the Wolverine Origins movie.
Yeah.
And then after that, he went back and killed Ryan Reynolds before accepting the Green Lantern role. Thank you, Canada.
Yeah, yeah. No, yeah, that's what he did. Which this leads me to another theory that I have. Since he saved his girlfriend and they were trying to have a baby, maybe there's going to be a baby Deadpool. And I think the director did hint that yes, they might have a baby in the future. Okay, and now some other things that I want to point out. We've seen Mr. Sinister being teased in a lot of movies. We've seen the name Essex Corp. We've seen the school with the same name. We've seen the ending credits to the Apocalypse movie with Mr. Sinister. And this movie has a lot of references to him. My only thing that I can tie into this is Mr. Sinister is tied into Dark Phoenix. Also, with the Dark Phoenix, we see that Cable references his daughter with the little teddy bear, says, "It's my daughter's, her name is Hope." And we know Hope Summer. We know Hope Summer is the daughter of Cable. And we know that Hope Summer is the granddaughter of Cyclops and Jean Grey. With that said, we tie this into the timeline with Scarlet Witch with M-Day, which was a comic from 2005. I think it's on the line of House of Mutants. In this timeline, Scarlet Witch uses her powers to basically get rid of 90% of the mutants. She basically hexes them to lose their power. So these mutants are no longer mutants with powers, they're just regular humans. So there's only 10% of the original population of mutants with their original powers. This leads them into a long storyline where at the end, Hope Summer comes back and she's seen as the mutant savior. Something leads to another. I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but Scarlet Witch comes back and she reverses the hex. All the mutants get their powers back. Hope Summer gets taken over by the Dark Phoenix, and Avengers vs. X-Men happen. They fight and they beat the Dark Phoenix. And bottom line is that I think this is how Hope Summer is going to be tied into the storyline. So if you agree or you know anything more than this, leave a comment below or hit us up to our email, and we can talk about this or we can reference it in another episode. But yeah, I think this is the reason they're referencing it, to keep the storyline open. Maybe another writer wants to pick this up and write it, but as of right now, that's the only link I can see. And with that said, do you want to add anything else, Touly?
No, I mean, we could go on for a couple more hours, really, because there were so many things in this movie that we could still talk about. Even things that, we can't even look up, because I'm pretty sure I missed a ton of stuff too, like I've already mentioned. Like you mentioned the Joker reference, the 11 from Stranger Things. I mean, I didn't even catch those. So, I mean, if I did another rewatch, I mean, we could go on for a couple more hours, but I think you hit on a lot of the key points. Yeah,
and I have only 2 more things that I can add right now. Basically, there's a lot of Deadpool writers who have been mentioned in the previous movies. In this movie, we see they mention the name Gale, and at the beginning of the movie, when Deadpool's fighting bad people all over the world, he ends up Cantonese gang leader whose name is Gale, and this is reference to Gail Simons, who also is a writer who used to write Deadpool. Another name that was dropped was when Weasel, he's getting integrated by Cable. Weasel is TJ Miller. He gives up all the information and tells him that they're going to be in Jerry Duncan Parkway. And Jerry Duncan is also the last writer who was writing the Deadpool series a few years ago. So, I mean, there's a lot of references to Deadpool creators, Deadpool writers, Deadpool artists here and there. Even Stan Lee he didn't do a cameo in the movie, but we do see homage to him as they're parachuting down from the plane. You'd see his picture on a building. You see his statue in the Xavier Mansion when Deadpool's riding around in the chair. He knocks something over. You see a statue of Stan Lee. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things we could keep going on, but you know what? I'm pretty sure you guys are bored of me just talking. So, with that said, let's give it our grade. And, Touly, what grade did you give this movie?
I would give it an 8.0, but on the matter of knowing what I like, and I know Sal already told you this, I'm a big fan of time traveling stuff. And I mentioned earlier in this podcast that there was a twist at the end of the film. It had to do with Cable returning back to the future to where his daughter and wife was. But after he was able to change the future because was it a teddy bear
Yes.
that he had with him?
Yeah.
it kind of went back to its normal form, letting him know that his daughter was going to be fine. He decided not to go back to the future. He did, but he didn't go that far into the future to where his daughter was and his wife. He only went back. He went back in time actually to save Deadpool. So that twist right there earned the film an extra 0.5 points for me. So I would give it an 8.5. But if it wasn't for that, an 8.5. But if it wasn't for that, if he didn't do anything like that, I would give it an 8. But like I said, you know that I'm big into time traveling stuff, and that little twist there, got like extra points from me. So I would give it like 8 to 8.5.
You know what? That just scene that I just remembered, it just brought another movie into mind. Did you think that the teddy bear was the same thing as the picture from Back to the Future, where they're disappearing, and then when he thinks that he fixed everything, they come back? His brothers and sisters appear back in the picture.
Oh, you know what? I didn't think about that. I mean, it's always a possibility, but yeah, that did not come to mind.
Because that's what happened. The little teddy bear was scorched, and then once he fixed it, it just returned to his original form, and it was a clean teddy bear kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, that scene was kind of made the movie. He came back and saved Deadpool in a nice way, kind of thing. My grade, I want to say that I want to give it a 7.5 to 8 out of 10. I'm kind of leaning more to 7.5 than 8, but I'm going to give it that range. Mostly, to me, it was because of the jokes, the reference to the comic books, especially when he's meeting Juggernaut and he's like, "You're my favorite character. I remember you from comic this and comic that." And he's naming the issues were actual issues and they're key issues. So by doing that, I'm like, hey, yeah. So my grade was 7.5 to 8 out of 10. So with that wraps up our review for Deadpool 2. Join us next time where we're going to review the Solo movie. And remember, social media is in the description, and hit us up if you have any questions. Remember, keep watching movies.